Man saved a pregnant lynx from a cliff, and then something shocking happened. When this man saved a pregnant lynx from the edge of a cliff, he could not even imagine that years later, his kindness would be repaid in such an amazing way. Standing at the edge of a high cliff, the man realized he was in a perilous situation. He knew he shouldn't have ventured up there alone, but at that moment, he had no other choice. The irony was that just the day before, Douglas had been excited about his first big adventure as a ranger. He was eager to start his new job at the national park. While the other rangers were friendly, they still treated him as a newcomer, giving him the toughest jobs and tasks that no one else wanted to take on. The national park monitored wildlife across its territory using surveillance cameras placed throughout the park. One late evening, they discovered that a camera positioned on the rocks had stopped working. Fixing the issue was crucial, but no one wanted to venture out to that area at that hour. Whoever volunteered would have to spend the night in the mountains. Then it will be too late to return. Douglas knew full well that he would be chosen even before the boss called his name. Ever since he arrived at the park, Douglas had dreamed of exploring the mountains, so this didn't scare him at all. He prepared his backpack, grabbed his tent, started the car, and headed for the high cliff. Upon arrival, Douglas inspected the cameras and discovered that the main cable connecting them had been damaged, possibly due to animal activity. He quickly replaced the damaged cable and explored the area, after which he set up a tent to spend the night in. At dawn, Douglas was informed by radio that 2 hikers had disappeared and could not be found. So the boss asked Douglas to check the area for signs of hikers. If he discovers them, he must immediately call for help. Douglas cautiously climbed up the slope, checking to see if anyone had fallen off the cliff, but he did not find any traces. Soon he was informed by radio that the hikers had been found and he could return to the base. However, as the ranger was about to leave, something strange caught his attention. Douglas took out his binoculars to take a closer look and spotted a lynx, but was shocked when he realized its paw was stuck between the rocks and it couldn't get out. He reported the situation to the other rangers, but they replied that they could only arrive in a few hours. Concerned for the lynx's life, Douglas decided to go it alone. Despite the team's warnings not to climb the rocks without assistance, the ranger tied himself with a rope to a tree and carefully descended to the animal in trouble, which was on a small rocky ledge on a high cliff. He had to be very careful not to fall down. Douglas approached the lynx, which showed no aggression, seeming to understand that the kind person wanted to help it. Acting very slowly and carefully, the ranger was able to free the lynx's paw from its stone captivity, which only dangled limply in his hand. Douglas realized that the paw was broken, which meant that the lynx would not be able to move without outside help and would die here. Then the ranger made another bold decision. He took the suffering animal in his arms and almost crawled back to the car, risking falling into the abyss with every careless movement. The stubborn man carried the lynx to the car, put it in the back seat, and headed to the ranger base. There, Douglas found a veterinarian who gave the inexperienced ranger some shocking news. It turns out that the lynx was pregnant and was about to give birth to cubs. The animal's paw was severely injured and required surgery, which was now dangerous to perform, since the medications could have a strong negative effect on the lynx cubs. The lynx's paw and put a bandage on it, and Douglas voluntarily agreed to care for the injured animal. The ranger even had to help give birth to her, and 3 adorable cubs were born. For the first few days, Douglas fed them his own formula from a bottle, since he needed to wait until the mother lynx's body cleared the antibiotics that the veterinarian administered to her during the operation. When the lynx and her cubs were finally able to reunite, the entire staff of the national park could not contain their joyful smiles. It took the lynx almost 2 months to fully recover, and all this time Douglas looked after her and her small cubs. During this time, the family of predators, and especially the little lynx cubs, became very attached to Douglas, seeming to consider him their guardian angel. When the time finally came to release the lynx family, Douglas felt a mixture of joy and sadness at parting with his new shaggy friends. The adult lynx looked at Douglas with gratitude as she said goodbye and disappeared into the forest with her cubs. Years passed. Douglas eventually became one of the national park's most experienced rangers, a job he truly enjoyed. During his regular duty after several days of heavy rains, Douglas walked around the park, checking if any tourists or animals living here were in a dangerous situation. Suddenly, a strange noise was heard somewhere nearby. Douglas realized too late that it was a mudslide moving towards him from a high cliff. The ranger realized it was pointless to run, so he wrapped his arms tightly around the trunk of a nearby tree to keep the mud flow from washing him away. This helped only for a short time, since the mudslide was too strong and the mud flow caught the man's body like a sliver. When the mudslide finally ended, Douglas could hardly open his eyes from the thick layer of mud in which he was firmly stuck up to his neck. Douglas's whole body ached wildly, and the ranger thought that it was only a miracle that he survived. At the same time, the man could not even move, and he understood that if someone did not find him here in the near future, then a sad end awaited him. At that moment, Douglas didn't yet know that a pair of curious eyes were watching him from afar. Soon a large lynx appeared next to the injured man, and the ranger was surprised to realize that this was the same predator that he had saved several years ago. Because of the mud, the lynx didn't risk getting close to the man, and after a few minutes it just turned around and walked away. Douglas's eyes welled up with tears from intense pain and resentment, as if his best friend had abandoned him in difficult times. However, he was wrong. The lynx ran quickly through the park until it came across a group of rangers. The rangers recognized the predator immediately, as it had a scar on its paw after getting stuck between rocks. The lynx paced in circles around the rangers until they understood it wanted them to follow. After a while, a mudslide occurred, and Douglas, still fighting for his life, felt his strength rapidly fading. The lynx stood a short distance away, watching as the rangers desperately tried to save him. He spotted the predator and realized that this was her way of repaying him for his kindness from years ago. The rangers eventually managed to free Douglas from the mud, but he was unable to move due to several broken bones. Douglas was airlifted to the nearest hospital, where he recovered surprisingly quickly. If not for the timely intervention and help of the lynx, the outcome could have been drastically different. This remarkable story serves as an important reminder that acts of kindness can return to us in unexpected ways, even saving a life. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.